In our praise band this morning, we have Caleb Neal, Ken Norton, Zane Scott, and Jalen Schleichner. Please join us in singing as we worship together.
I'm Sabbath, everyone. Thank you for singing with us. Please stand and worship. Please remain standing as we sing.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only.
Thank you for singing with us. You may be seated.
Our scripture reading this morning is from Psalms 119, verses 31 and 32. I hold fast to your statutes. Lord, do not let me be put to shame. I run in the path of your commands, for you have broadened my understanding. Bow your heads with me as we pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for showing us how much you care by bringing each one of us here to GCA, where we can be exposed to your word and character through our classes, through our teachers, and through our peers. We pray that you continue to make yourself apparent to us, and that we continue to seek you out as we go on to the next phase of our lives. And please give us the strength to hold fast to you. We ask this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Happy Sabbath, everyone. My name is Kayla Goodman, and I am proud to say that I am a four-year senior, and this is my GCA experience. Standing here, it's easy to say how fast these past 4 years have gone. And it's true. It's been a wild ride that somehow has ended up here. When I started at GCA, I was a scared little freshman, and that was one way to describe me. But through the years and the hard days, I made it through. I came to GCA because I needed a fresh start. I needed a place to go and start over and become a new person, the person that God created me to be. After a few weeks, I quickly adapted to my surroundings, and a group of upperclassmen took me under their wings, a couple seniors and a few juniors, and they became my friends. I started to thrive here. Freshman year was an incredible year. Sophomore year was great too. I loved returning to the school where I've become established. I definitely faced some challenges that year, but God ended up revealing himself to me in ways that I had never seen before. I was constantly being reminded that he was always doing something new in my life. Junior year came around and it hit me hard. Classes were crazy, work was taxing, but God kept bringing me back to the place of trusting him. I got to the point where I didn't want to return to GCA because I was facing so many difficult things that year. Classes were hard, things were taxing, and I just didn't want to come back at a point. But God kept me here, and he didn't let me go. And then it happened. We were playing at a friend's house, messing around, and somehow I ended up in a pool accident with severe back pain and later ended up in the ER that night. Due to a swollen, bulging disc in my spine that was affecting my nerves, that is by far the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So I was stuck in a hospital bed, not knowing where to go and what to do, but God had me covered. He had people take me into their house and take care of me. And then when we went on New England trip our next week, he had the staff there make sure I was okay in my wheelchair. So he brought me back to a place where he wanted me to trust him fully and completely with my whole heart. So New England trip came and I was cleared, but I had to go in my wheelchair. I had to say that was epic. With the wheelchair came many adventures, many times getting lost, but most importantly, it brought me to the understanding that I'm not in control of my life. Dealing with these problems now, and I look and I see the doctors still don't know what's wrong with me, but God does. I'm still stuck in the middle of this medical frenzy, but I trust God. GCA gave me opportunities to become fully me. Senior year seemed to zip by, and now I'm standing here graduating. But I look back on this year. God gave me the best hall ever to be the RA of. I also had the amazing opportunity to serve as SA pastor this year. Sure, it's been a whirlwind of chaos this year, wishing to graduate, but I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I came to GCA through the faculty, the staff, and the students, and most importantly, God. GCA has helped form me into the person that I am today, and I am blessed beyond measure.
Hi, my name is Gabby Garcia, and I'm a four-year senior. If you would have told me in 8th grade that I'd be up here talking about my GCA experience, I would have laughed at you. I never thought that I'd be spending my 4 years of high school here, but after one campus tour with Mr. Llewellyn, I was convinced. I came to GCA full of excitement and anxiety. I was excited because as a 14-year-old, getting to be in the dorm without my parents was the most freedom I've ever had. And I was also anxious because at my old school, getting to make friends was hard for me, so I didn't want the same to happen here. After a few weeks of school, I quickly realized that making friends wouldn't be a problem. I was super socially awkward, but I was able to find some friends who shared the same quirks as me, like Kylie, who I'll never forget I had a yogurt and spray cheese fight with, which was awesome. Everything was going great, except for two things, my academics and my spiritual life. I'd gotten so caught up in my newfound freedom that I completely forgot about school and God. I was in Learning Lab for most of the year, and I remember Ms. Bogus telling me, hey, Gabby, this is school, not summer camp. Apparently I got those mixed up. And I basically tuned out every sermon on Sabbaths. As freshman year faded into sophomore year, I finally began to feel more comfortable in my own skin. I decided to room with my now roommate of 3 years, Emlyn Walters, and seeing how motivated she was encouraged me to also be motivated and actually try at school. I was able to keep my grades high enough to not go to Learning Lab. Not only that, but because of her, I was able to break out of my shell and make new friends, like one of my best friends, Cami Martin. So now two things were fixed, my academics and my social skills, but there was still one thing missing, God. My spiritual life didn't start to blossom until junior year. I was elected class pastor, and I felt obligated to read my Bible. I woke up every morning and tried to read a couple of verses. And even though I was just reading it because I felt forced to, because I was a class pastor, I actually started to enjoy what I read and take the spiritual applications to heart. Don't get me wrong, junior year was one of the most emotionally draining years of my life. But thankfully, with great friends like Jessica Nicole and great staff like Ms. Bogus and Mr. Leeper, I was able to get through it. Now as a senior, I can truly say that I've grown, academically, socially, and spiritually. This year has been a blast. I've made friendships that will last forever, and my grades have never been higher. I became one of the leaders of Girls Dorm Bible Study with Ms. Gerard, and I was an officer, and I was a dorm officer, so I actually really grew a lot there. Through every smile, laugh, and cry, God presents himself in a different way. Whether it was a verse I heard in religion class, an encouraging word from a friend, or a long talk with DJ, God was there. Though it was never perfect, and nothing will ever be. I've had the time of my life, and I wouldn't trade these last 4 years for anything.
Good morning. My name is Nikayla Connor, and I am a two-year senior. Before I begin, let me clear one thing up. Yes, I am a senior, and this is my fourth and final year of high school, and I worked very hard to get here because despite being told how difficult it would be. But of course, I didn't do it alone. God was there. To provide some context, 2 years ago, my older sister Raquel graduated from GCA. On a morning just like this one, I watched as one of her classmates spoke about the struggles that she went through and how being at GCA helped her. I could easily put myself up there in her place on the stage, and that at that exact moment, I made the decision to attend GCA the next fall. I wanted to be on stage to tell my story. When my parents asked me why I wanted to go all of a sudden, I told them that I needed the structure that the school could provide. And while that was true, it was only the half of it. In all honesty, I had come to a place in my life where I was extremely unhappy. I knew that if God didn't get a hold of me soon, then something worse would. So I came searching for God at GCA. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I had to work very hard to become a senior. The summer before I came to GCA, I had to go through summer school in order to catch up and take a place in the 11th grade. Unfortunately, I did not complete summer school, and I was enrolled as a sophomore that fall. I felt like a failure. I thought that if I followed God's calling, that everything else would fall into place and it would be so easy. But God wasn't going to make me a senior without teaching me a few lessons. In some ways, it was actually pretty funny. Here I was, a sophomore at GCA, claiming that I was a junior. Everybody else was really confused because I was in 2 freshman classes, sophomore classes, and I lived on overflow hall in the dorm. So nobody knew for sure what I really was. Even some of the teachers weren't sure. It was fun to mess with people all of first semester, but on the inside, I was constantly torn between wanting to graduate on time and just giving up. I feel that Satan was distracting me a lot from my ultimate goal. And by Christmas, I was feeling truly discouraged. So at the beginning of second semester, I had no idea what I was doing. Fortunately for me, I was able to join the junior English class, further confusing my classmates. However, with this change came a huge disappointment. The New England trip that the juniors took was the single most identifying factor of junior year. I longed to go on the trip and began to schedule meetings with the principal, vice principal, administrator, and teachers to see what I could do to go on the trip. I think that was the hardest I've ever prayed to God. Well, what it all came down to was a big fat no. I wouldn't be allowed on the trip because in actuality, I was not a junior. They gave me 2 options: to come back next year as a junior and be able to go on the trip, or to do summer school and come back as a senior, but skip the trip entirely. That was an easy decision because graduation versus another year of school was, well, you get the point. Suddenly, the trip had no meaning, and I had an entirely new goal: to figure out exactly what I needed to do in order to graduate. I set up more meetings and soon had a plan for summer school that would allow me to barely scrape by with the requirements for graduation. I got a lot of discouraging feedback from some people. They thought that it would be too hard to do 3 courses over the summer, or that I should just stay another year in high school so I could complete a college prep diploma. They kept telling me that it would be too hard, but this time I wouldn't allow myself to give up. I accepted the fact that I would have to sacrifice my summer to complete the necessary courses because to me, graduating on time was better than any temporary 1-week trip. Throughout my first year at GCA, my faith had grown silently stronger. And as summer began and I signed up for the first session of school, I prayed to God for motivation, strength, and perseverance. I knew that I needed all the help I could get, or else I would have a repeat of the last summer. Some days I was on fire, and I got through 10 or more lessons a day. Other days, I felt stuck, and when that happened, I asked God to help me through just one more lesson, just one more day, and I would be closer to graduation. And He must have helped me because 5 days before registration, I finished my last test and was enrolled as a senior at GCA. With that roadblock out of the way, God was able to fully work on me. Actually, I truly believe that He sent people to personally test me. All year, my peers have joked and teased about where they think I should be. In fact, somebody asked me how I managed to be a senior just this Wednesday. GCA taught me that it's okay to fall down because God will always be there to pick me up. I am grateful for the environment that allowed me to grow and thrive in my faith, because without this faith, I don't know where I would be. And finally, here I am. I did it. I am exactly where I said I would be 2 years ago, except I've changed. I feel happier, I feel more confident in where I am, and I'm proud of myself, because I did what people thought I could not. And I know that I could not have done it without the support of my mother, my father, my grandparents, siblings, and most importantly, God. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emmeline Walters, and I'm a four-year senior. Before I tell you about my GCA experience, I'd like to share a story with you. During World War II, there were two girls who were taken from their home countries and ended up in the same concentration camp. One day, one of the little girls found a single raspberry and put it in her pocket and kept it there the whole day until she was able to see her friend and present it to her on a leaf. It was all that she had, but she saw a glimpse of joy in that raspberry and wanted to share it with the one that she loved. My time here at GCA has taught me that there are many kinds of friends. Some stay only for a little while others stick around. Some you can laugh with for days about dumb things that only you'd find funny, like my roommate of 3 years, Gabby Garcia, and I. And others you can just have those deep, serious talks with. The rarest ones, though, are those who you'd give everything for, like the raspberry. Before my freshman year, I came from a school with a graduating class of 6 to a school of nearly 300, which was shocking to me. I knew I wanted to come to GCA since I was about 9, so I was pretty stoked for high school to start. Grades to me my first 2 years weren't really all that important, which is kind of funny that my roommate thought I was motivated. I didn't really have to try all that hard to keep them. I just had to keep them high enough to where I could stay on gymnastics and I wasn't restricted from having fun or doing the things that I wanted to do. So I settled for being the good old mediocre student. Then junior year hit. School started to get more difficult, and there were times where I started to feel that drowning feeling, where there was just so much to do and no time to do it. As junior year came to a close, the distant dream of being a senior was becoming a reality. I instantly felt an overwhelming feeling to try. I wanted senior year to be the dream that I always heard it would be. So when senior year started, I joined essay and praise band and gymnastics and pretty much anything I could. And I actually tried to have good grades. I never realized how important and great it felt to be more than mediocre. GCA has helped me develop into someone who loves learning and growing in my academics and my relationship with God. The head girls dean, DJ, has been such a tremendous blessing and influence to me these past 4 years. She's shown me the importance of claiming God's promises today and being true to who God wants and made me to be. Being involved means you're never not busy, so when Chaplain Josh came into my Religion 4 class and asked if anyone wanted to join the Compadre program, I didn't really want to commit to being assigned to a freshman as a mentor, so I politely passed. But I myself ended up being adopted by freshman Dylan Cannon and co-compadred him with my fellow senior Derek Cheshire. Dylan has become more than just a mentee to me this past year, he's become a friend. I'm so glad to say that I've made more raspberry friends in my 4 years here at GCA than most people will find in a lifetime. They've pushed me and helped me to grow socially, academically, and spiritually, and I'm so thankful for all the moments we've shared together and the memories we'll hold on to forever. And that's my GCA experience.
to earn grace. Why are you crying? Let me lift up your face. Just don't turn away. Why are you looking for love? Why are you still searching as if I'm not enough? To where will you go, child? Tell me, where will you run? To where will you run? 'Cause I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Wherever you call, then please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you. Look at these hands on my side. They swallowed the grave on that night when I drank the world's sin, so I could carry you in and give you life. I wanna give you life, 'cause I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Wherever you call, and please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you here at my side. Wherever you fall in the dead of night. Wherever you call, then please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you. 'Cause I love you. I want you to know that I love you. I'll never let you go. 'Cause I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call, then please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you here at my side. Whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call, then please don't fight. These hands that are holding you, my hands are holding you.
Morning, happy Sabbath. My name is Marcos Burgos, and I'm a 3-year senior. Before I came to GCA, the school that I went to was vastly different from GCA. I wasn't challenged spiritually, I didn't have many friends, and I don't think that I could have called myself a Christian. I wasn't hot for the Lord, and I wasn't lukewarm. But God works in mysterious ways, and one day, the Robinson family came over, and they started talking about their son Joshua, who came to this place called GCA. And Miss Robinson started talking, and she said, have you heard of GCA? And I said, is that like a disease or something? She's like, oh no, it's a school. And I said, oh, what kind of school? She said, it's a boarding school. And I said, what's a boarding school? She says, oh, it's just a school that you go to, and you stay there and live there until you graduate. And I said, oh. And then I looked to my parents, and I was like, no. But then she kept talking, and she said, yeah, it's great. He's grown so much, and the parents can like monitor everything he's doing on the computer. They send you the grades every day. I was like, no, don't do it. And, but my parents knew that it was time for a change, as did I. And when they asked me if I wanted to go to GCA, and I felt the word yes come out of my mouth, I already felt the Holy Spirit work in my life. And next thing I knew, I was walking on the sidewalk of the ad building, getting a tour of GCA by this guy called Mr. Llewellyn or something like that. And after the tour had finished, I looked at my parents, and I was kind of sad and kind of excited. And I told them that I think this is the place that I need to go to. And they looked a lot sadder than me, and they said, yeah, we think so too. It was a hard decision for them, but God gave me great parents, and they put me before them, so that's why I'm here today. And, well, I went here, and by the end of my sophomore year, the only new thing that I learned about myself is that I like to talk a lot, especially in my science and English classes. Sorry, Mr. Sigler and Dr. Briggs. But then came junior year, harder classes, much less time, much more stress. But I've come to realize that I've grown the most when I've been challenged the most, when I've kind of felt that feeling that Emmeline was talking about, that choking feeling. And there's a quote by Martin Luther King that my mom reminded me of one day that goes, the ultimate measure of a man is not when he stands in time of ease and comfort, but in times of trials and tribulation. And once I realized how hard my parents were working for me to be here, I realized that it wasn't fair to put in half effort. Since they were putting 110%, it was only fair that I put in 120%. It's the least I could do. So my grades started to look less average and more like something that my parents and I could be proud of. And real growth happened my junior and senior year. And my senior year was the first year where I've made the principal's list and have worked hard to become a 4.0 student. And I felt God blessing me over and over again. And I'm starting to see what he has planned for me. Like Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." I could not have gotten this far without God or without my family or without the people here at GCA and all the teachers and staff. And GCA is the place where I chose to give my life to Christ, to get baptized. And a big reason for that is because of the people here and because of all the experiences and all the testimonies that I've experienced, like Mark Wittes' testimony about Megan and everything else that I've heard in Vespers and Sabbath schools and sermons. And all these experiences have led me to make that decision, and I wouldn't trade that in for the world. And to finish, I want to take a moment to thank all the staff and teachers and deans and all my friends that have constantly pushed me to become better, a better me, and to keep growing. And I want to thank my family, too, for always supporting me and pushing me and sometimes threatening me to get the best grades I can. And I want to thank God most of all. Thank you. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath. My name is Jessica Rivera, and I'm a 3-year senior. To fully explain my GCA experience, I would like to start my freshman year of high school. I was in public school my whole life, and when high school came around, my parents didn't want me to attend the local high school. It was notorious for being a bad school, educationally and socially. We heard about GCA from family friends, but due to financial reasons, I couldn't attend until my sophomore year. I was a very angry sophomore. I didn't want to be at GCA. Because I was so angry with being stuck at GCA, I decided to be angry at everyone as well, including God. I wanted to go back to public school, despite all the obvious signs that public school was slowly turning me into someone I didn't want to be. Thankfully, God and the people around me never lost hope in me. Junior year is when I started to change my perspective. God definitely wanted me at GCA, and the only thing holding me back was myself. I have never been a star student, but junior year was the highest my grades have ever been. My relationship with God was also slowly but surely improving. Fast forward. Senior year is one for the books. My grades have never been higher, and I have never been happier walking through this campus. I formed a very personal relationship with God, and as a matter of fact, I'm getting baptized today. Looking back, GCA was one of my greatest challenges. However, I couldn't be happier with the outcome of this journey. To all the faculty that contributed in making my GCA experience unforgettable, thank you. To my friends who have been a major support system, thank you. To my parents and the people who worked hard to see me up here today, thank you, and I love you. I see the value in Adventist education, and my future children will definitely experience this journey as well. I thank God every day for what he has done in my life and what he will continue to do.
My name is Jessica Rivera, and this is my GCA experience.
Happy Sabbath. Through waters uncharted, my soul will embark. I'll follow your voice straight into the dark. And if from the course you intend I depart, speak to the sails of my wandering heart. Like the wind you'll guide, clear the skies before me, and I'll glide this open sea. Like the stars, your word will align my voyage and remind me where I've been and where I am going. Lost in the shallows of mist, fear, and fog. Your truth is a compass that points me back north. Jesus, my captain, my soul's trusted Lord. Oh, my allegiance is rightfully yours. Like the wind you'll guide, clear the skies before me, and I'll glide this open sea. Like the stars, your word will align my voyage and remind me where I've been and where I am going. Jesus, my captain, my soul's trusted Lord. Oh, my allegiance is rightfully yours.
Good morning. So, as it was mentioned earlier, I will be giving my GCA experience as well as having prayer. you'll probably be getting a little bit more of me than you bargained for. Hope that's okay. So my GCA experience actually began before I came to GCA because I'm a two-year senior. During my freshman and sophomore years, my family lived up in the forever freezing Michigan. Michigan is not just a time where I wore 5 coats at a time and snow boots, but it was a time where I struggled in just about every way, shape, and form. Family issues, deaths, and life-shattering experiences caused me to fall deeper and deeper into depression, anxiety, and self-harm. My spiritual life was not only non-existent, but I absolutely hated God. His name disgusted me. I wasn't angry because of the awful experiences. I knew that bad things have to happen to everyone, and I knew that I was no exception. What I could not understand was why God seemingly ignored all of my prayers and provided no comfort to me at all. My unanswered questions caused my 5-foot self to be 5 feet of anger. I was sick of where I was at, physically and emotionally. So when job opportunities for my family rose in this area, I encouraged them to take it, and we moved down to Collegedale. My anger bled through into my junior year, but there was something different. I had my roommate. Kelly was new to GCA junior year, just like me, and before the first night was over, we had become best friends. Having similar pasts, we clicked immediately. Little did we know at the time, we had gone through some of the same hard experiences and could relate to each other more than anyone else in the whole world. During second semester, we made a decision that although we didn't necessarily want to, we were going to read the Bible every day, and we did. From the beginning of second semester to the end of the school year, we read 1 or 2 chapters every night. Although I have moved 10 plus times in my life, I had one of the first real friendships I could remember. Kelly not only, sorry. Sorry. I was like thinking about all the jokes I could make, and now I'm just trying not to cry. Kelly not only became my best friend, but my lifesaver. Another lifesaver was Chaplain Josh. He noticed me in the library one day in the beginning of junior year and asked if I was okay. One thing led to another, and I've been meeting with him every week since then. Senior year began, and I still could not shake my anger. I had stopped reading my Bible and had started promoting my anger. Senior superlatives recently came out, and not shocking to anyone who knows me, I had received most likely to start a debate. Poor Mr. Leeper had to deal with my opinionated, angry self in religion, and one day he asked me to come meet with him. I have met with him just about every Monday since the beginning of the year, with little productivity due to my stubbornness. I refused to give up my anger and my glass half empty attitude. In February, I was getting really fed up. Circumstances were forcing me to face a lot of experiences that I have shoved in a box and haven't opened in months and even years. I was so angry, and there truly was a battle going on in my head. I heard what Mr. Leeper and Chaplain Josh were saying, but I could not actually hear them. During one meeting with Mr. Leeper, I was telling him how it felt like there was a real battle going on in my head, and that I felt like everything was yelling at me. He stopped everything and he prayed. Jesus, help the yelling to stop. Help Becca's anger to go away. And I swear to you, after he prayed that prayer, the yelling in my head stopped. The battle had been won. Sorry. I could finally hear what Mr. Leeper and Chaplain Josh were saying. Have you ever seen those videos where a deaf baby gets something in their ear and they can finally hear their parents? That's what it felt like. I realized that I was being forced to open up the boxes of my angry past so that I could move on and move closer to God. My life was being destroyed so that I could deal with everything and get one step closer to God. My anger towards God was not there anymore. My freshman year, I thought that by senior year, my whole life would be together. I would be happy, baptized, and know what I was going to major in college. And honestly, none of that has happened yet. I'm graduating this weekend, and I am nowhere near where I would like to be. But guess what? It's okay. I have not worked through everything, but GCA has forced me to begin that process. Looking back at how far I've come, it amazes me. My GCA experience has provided me with people in my life to encourage me every day. Staff like Chaplain Josh, Mr. Leeper, and Dean Heather have especially had to deal with my bratty opinions, and I will forever appreciate them for that. My poor basketball coaches and team have also had to force me to sit down and be quiet during a couple games. My dad graduated from GCA in 1988, making me a second-generation student. My dad is one of the best men that I know, and he owes much of his success to GCA. My dad, having been thrown out of a couple basketball games himself and getting in more trouble than he should, remembers Coach Fox as someone who made a difference to him. It's interesting to me to see the commonalities between mine and my dad's GCA experiences. It was the people who made the difference for him, just as it was for me. I have absolutely no idea what my future will look like, but I do know that one day I will be telling my kids about my GCA experience and the difference it made for me, just as my dad tells me. So as I said, my GCA experience began before I was even at GCA, and it will continue on with me even after I leave. Let's have a word of prayer. Dear Jesus, we come here today with happy hearts. The much anticipated graduation weekend has finally arrived. I think some of us thought that it would never come. We are so thankful that you're here with us for this experience. Thank you for being present with us through this crazy journey. Please continue to bless us and be with us for whatever is next. Give us encouragement to face the long road ahead. Amen.